got a quest.
Hello, another episode. What a treat. This is our question segment as a standalone episode because we didn't have time and we didn't feel like rushing it because we had quite a few questions, to be honest, this episode, so we can take our time with them and give you a little something nice midweek, you know.
Little something nice. Maybe this is something that we might start doing more often, maybe.
Yeah, why not?
It's quite a good idea.
I like this idea as well. Obviously, subject to time,
but
and
at least
availability.
it gives more importance to our interactions with our followers, our listeners, our patrons, which is always something that we like to do.
Yes. Our first question comes from Twitter/X from Taco, our boy. He says, who are the players who have impressed you the most outside the obvious ones? I love you guys so much. Here's to another 100 episodes.
I love you more, Taco, honestly.
Yes, I love nachos more, but tacos are good too.
Tacos, no, I think I like nachos, but tacos they're more of a main course.
Mm-hmm,
you know what I mean? Taco is the main course. He doesn't fuck around, man. You don't nibble Taco.
Sure. Yeah.
You eat him.
For me personally, brother, to answer Taco's question, Goodmanson has stood out, obviously.
Yes.
That might be an obvious one. I mean, if you're a listener to the show, they're all obvious because we don't skip a beat. Huh?
Yeah.
But yes, Goodmanson, Luvumbo, Zergzi, Kolpani, Buongiorno and Sule, I would say, are the ones who have stood out to me.
Yeah, out of the obvious ones, I agree with you with Goodmanson and Luvumbo. Sule has stood out a lot for me. And then there are a couple of defenders as well that have really become keen on this season and even last season, to be fair. Buongiorno, who I've been raving about for the past season. I think even in the last match day, he did a great job to neutralize Zergzi. And before that, I mean, solid defender. Is now on a longer contract with Torino, so good to see him in Serie A for a longer time. Dragusin is someone that I perhaps had slept on, but he's a very athletic defender, and a very smart defender at that as well. I think he has a bright future ahead of him.
They have talent in every position.
Yeah,
like you look at the back, you have Dragusin, then you have Frendrup as a kind of deep midfielder, Goodmanson and Retegui. Those are great
and
players.
And obviously you forget Malinovsky, for example, this and that as well.
Junior Methiath.
Pongracic is another one that I've included over here.
Yes, he's really stepped up since
he's a horse.
He's a horse.
And I also have, just because my expectation was so low on this guy, Harroui. I have Harroui as well.
Yes.
Like the fact that he was before obviously Soler hit the ground running, it was all about Harroui.
Mm-hmm. It's true, he did step up and he's been very good for France.
You'll see that I left some out, but because they're my answers to other questions, so I don't want to repeat myself.
Exactly. I'm going to actually mention one of them because it's not fair. Bologna's Calafiori.
Yes, absolutely.
He's been great. He's full back turned centre back, and he's been absolutely.
Like I didn't mention Kolpani because he's another answer, but Calafiori and Kolpani definitely make this list.
Frank on Twitter/X asks.
Stop saying Twitter/X. What is this? Twitter. Fuck Twitter. X.
Frank on X. Frank on X on the beach. Frank, who finishes higher, Fiorentina or Bologna?
This is my favorite
question. Shall we 3-1 it?
Let's 3-1 it.
3, 2, 1, Bologna.
I love it. Wow. I love it.
Wow.
Why?
Bologna play once a week.
Granted,
their squad isn't as deep, but Fiorentina have a clear weakness in their team at the moment up front, while Bologna don't seem to have that. And Bologna are very adaptable and versatile. And I think they can adapt to their opponent more than Fiorentina can. Fiorentina will try to bring the exact same plan to every single game they play.
Now, I'll challenge that and say I agree with you.
Okay.
But when it comes to facing the top 7, who do you think will be more successful, Fiorentina or Bologna?
I think that's what it comes down to. I think Bologna might be more successful. Man. I don't know. I think right now they're on a high. I think with Italiano, he's been there for about 3 seasons, I think, now. And he's had the same issues up front. And I feel like it's people are starting to talk about it and to address it. The fact that, like, why aren't these strikers doing well? Is it a personnel thing or is it a systemic kind of thing? And I feel like the pressure is piling over there. Not to mention they have lost some quality, and the fact that they're having to play Sotil nowadays, who is a hard worker. I appreciate his industry. Not sure he's very clever.
I don't think he has a very high ceiling, Sotil, personally. I think, to be honest, if we're talking peak, he's still a young guy, so he still has a long way to go. But I don't think his peak is much higher than where he is right now. I straight up believe Bologna have a better team than Fiorentina. I'll go so far as to say that.
All round, maybe.
Ferguson, Zirkzee, Orsolini, and all of these
Fiorentina definitely have a deeper team.
Fiorentina have a deeper team, But then Motta's system, bro. And they have a full season under Motta now. Remember what Bologna did last year, and it was with half a season with Motta. And basically the half of the season before that was devastating for them because it was Mihailovic who passed away in and out of hospital. So now they finally have settlement. They've got a young progressive manager, and they've got one hell of a squad, man. I think they'll definitely fight for Europe. I think they get Europa League this year, Bologna. I think they get Europa.
7th.
I think they'll... One sec. Europa League might be tough, but I think they'll fight for it. I think that you know how it is.
You aim for Europa, you get conference,
and you know how it's always very tight until the last moment. We don't know who's getting Conference League until the final match day.
You don't know who's getting anything until you've docked points. Frank has a part 2 to his question. Who could break into Spalletti's squad who hasn't been involved so far? I think there are 2 or 3 that, when fit, can. His most recent call-ups were Donnarumma, Meret, Vicario, Provedel, Acerbi, Bastoni, Buongiorno, Calabria, Cambiaso, Darmian, Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Gatti, Toloi, Barella, Bonaventura, Colpani, Cristante, Frattesi, Jorginho, Locatelli, Berardi, Chiesa, Sharawi, Keane, Politano, Raspadori, Scamacca, and Zaniolo. Those were the...
How I wish I had those written in front of me.
I do. Yes, for me, Calafiori.
Yep. I agree. I have the same answer in Calafiori.
I think it's a no-brainer, to be honest with you. Also, one who I'm surprised hasn't been involved is Di Gregorio. Granted, he's not going to start, but I think he's better than Provedel.
Who's the third? Provedel is the third.
You have Donnarumma, Meret, Provedel, Vicario. I think Di Gregorio can displace Meret and Provedel.
Yeah.
Not Vicario and Donnarumma.
Probably not Vicario, but the other two definitely.
Yeah.
Di Gregorio on his day, he can start for Italy on his day.
Probably, man. He's really good goalkeeper, cat-like. Then I put maybe Orsolini, if he's fit, can challenge for a spot.
If he's fit, because he's very in and out. Yeah. But as a squad player, it's no joke what he can do on the right. The thing is, for some reason, that position is quite saturated for Italy. Now, that's debatable because Chiesa can play out on the left, he can play out on the right as well. But there's also Mimmo Berardi out on the right, so the competition is very tough. But it's good to have him as a squad player, someone you bring on. Even, bro, he whips in a corner. And one of Italy's big boys get ahead too. His corners are fantastic. His free kicks are fantastic.
They accelerate on the dip,
His corners, man. His corners.
Remember that episode? You were like, Orsolini whipped in the best corner I've ever seen.
I wasn't. So I was prepping and I had YouTube on and I was watching the highlights of Bologna just to refresh my memory. And all of a sudden the commentator goes, "What a corner!" And I'm like... I've never heard that in my life. I've never heard someone freak out so much over a fucking corner. Yeah. So I rewinded it. I watched the corner and I told you, come see, I'm about to rewind. The commentator just fucking came because of a corner. Let's have a look. And we're both watching it. And at the second he kicks it, we both just go, oh.
Yeah, that was crazy. Of course, there's Romagnoli and Scalvini. I believe they have featured for Italy before, not on the Spalletti though. And then there's Retegui, who's injured at the moment, who can't fight his way back into this team. I mean, there's Keane, who's been on good form. But then you look at those strikers, the proper nines, he's the one who's dispensable, I think, here. Because they've only got 3 number 9s. Proper number 9. Scamacca, Raspadori, and Keane. Now you look at the contenders there, Retegui and Bellotti.
Yeah.
I don't think Bellotti will make it, but...
No, I like the fact that Keane has been called up.
Yeah,
I
same.
like
He
that.
deserves
He
it. He really deserves it this year.
I also, like, you guys know that I'm Scalvini's number one dick rider. So I obviously would like to see him in the Italy team. I can't help but think that he's probably more suited for a 3 at the back, and having Bastoni in the starting lineup in a 2 at the back, that might limit Scalvini's chances. Firstly, he's still 19 years old. Secondly, having 2 ball-playing centre-backs, essentially having to essentially centre mids as centre-backs might cause struggle when it comes to balance, and they're also 2 super young guys, so Acerbi has to start for Italy.
Yeah,
he has to start.
He's really
the staple
wow,
as a centre-back.
Yeah, definitely. The Azzurro magazine on Twitter said the weekend was centered around exciting youngsters, Camarda, Fabian, Soulé, etc. Who are the youngsters in Italy that have really caught your eye, and how high is their ceiling? So, I don't know, do you want to start? I've listed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I have 6 as
youngsters.
well. Oh, imagine they're
one
all
each,
the
one
same.
each.
But then we'll end up repeating.
Okay, let me tell you who I have, and then we'll discuss them.
Okay.
Actually, let's do one each. Fuck it.
Okay.
We'll repeat. I have Simone Pafundi first, 17 years old, Udinese.
I have Pafundi.
He really impressed me. I watched him in the Coppa Italia. One game particularly got quite a few minutes because he doesn't play much because he's only 17, of course. But when he came on, the entire team was playing for him. He was the centerpiece to that team. And he was only 17. He's small. He's really mobile. He likes to hold the ball. He's difficult to dispossess. And at 17, that's very difficult to do against fucking grown-ass men.
Like 22 is young.
Yeah.
17 though. 17 and to be that good at that age.
He's merely a baby.
He's merely a baby.
Yeah.
He's got a really bright future ahead of him. I just realized that I think I misread the question and I only did Italian players. But I stand by all of them. So
okay, let's hear the next one.
Colombo.
Ooh. How old is Colombo nowadays?
He's a young guy, Colombo.
22?
Must be early 20s. Colombo age. Okay, I wrote Colombo she instead of Colombo age.
This is the man who discovered America.
Oh my god, literally, bro. Jesus Christ. Monza.
Come on, man.
Age. He's 21.
21,
Youngster.
still very good. I mean, he's had 3 very good loan spells so far. He had one
this
in
one especially.
Serie B with Spal.
He's joking this year.
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Then last season he was at, remind me. Last season
Lecce.
Lecce, exactly. And how did I forget that? And the season Monza. Yeah, so he's working very well and his growth is good. You know, the trajectory is good. Now, an important part to the Azzurro magazine's question is how high is their ceiling. So when it comes to Pafundi, I think very high.
Yeah,
I think uninterrupted and with the right career choices, he can become a top player for the Italian national team.
I think so.
How high is Colombo's ceiling, in your opinion?
I think it's also very high.
Do you think he can become a consistent 20-goal-a-season striker in Italy?
I think he can. 20... Few players are consistently scoring 20 goals a season.
Yeah.
But if he keeps progressing in the manner in which he's been progressing and at the rate he's been progressing, and he settles down in a successful Milan team, there's no reason why he can't become at least a player that scores between 15 to 20 goals a season.
I think so.
Because he's an all-rounder.
Exactly.
He's good at dribbling, he's good at finishing, he's good in the air, he's good with his back towards goal, he's intelligent.
His hold-up play is good.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, and he's a proper Milan striker. Like at the moment, Milan play with a profile like that. No, Giroud, look at what Jovic tries to do. It's the same profile. Okay, up next, I'm sure you have him if you've written only Italian guys. This is Tommaso Baldanzi, 20 years old at Empoli. Very small player, very nifty player, very clever player, and with an eye for goal. I think that his ceiling is not as high as, for example, Pafundi's, but I can see him being a regular in the Italian national team, for example.
I see that at least as a squad player. Again, he's still very young, so it's hard to say. I'm excited to see him get a move away in the future. I think one of the I think the next move, I call it the Samuele Ricci move. You know, from Empoli you go to like Torino.
Yeah, that's another exciting one. Ricci.
Yeah, Ricci is an exciting one, but he's been out this year. Huh? He's been out quite a bit. Baldanzi, yeah, I think he needs the bridge of his career now. He needs the bridge that's going to take him to greatness. Now, is that bridge a Monza? Is the bridge
I'm not so
Bologna?
sure about that, man. I think as long as Empoli stay up and as long as they keep playing and a good brand of football, because Andrea Azzoli's brand of football is indeed a positive one. I think before he leaves, he needs to cement his place there as a starter. He hasn't done that yet. Granted, he's only 20. Granted, there's a lot of rotation involved with Empoli. But I think that before he leaves, he should totally become a regular over there. I think it would be... Unless he goes somewhere where he's going to definitely play under a manager that suits his style, like Monza, like you said.
That's what I'm thinking, because... Firstly, I'm not too certain about Empoli's chances of staying up. It's a long season. They've been looking better, but whatever. We all know how much they're struggling. Secondly,
teams like that are where you get 38 games, bro. That's where Tonali was at Brescia at a young age, like just getting all those games in.
But he hasn't been getting all those games. Baldanzi, he hasn't cemented himself, and I genuinely don't believe that's through any fault of his own. They play once a week, Jesus Christ, and he's probably their best offensive outlet.
But maybe tactically he's not quite there yet.
Exactly.
I mean, he's only 20.
The bridge, baby.
The bridge. Okay, interesting. You?
Colpani.
But this Colpani, a youngster, he's 24, 23?
Is he?
I might be wrong.
He's younger than that. No, Colpani age. He is 24, you're right. You're right. I initially had Raspadori as well.
Also, I think not
23, he's 23, okay. But I removed him. I genuinely thought Colpani was younger than that.
Okay. No worries, bro. Colpani, of course, fantastic talent. We're massive fans over here. I have Luca Romero next.
Okay.
19 years old, plays for Milan, broke records for the youngest player to feature or score in La Liga. There was something like that. Then came to Italy, broke a few records with Lazio as well because playing regularly at a young age. I think Luca Romero is fantastic. I think he's got a great shot on him. I think he's a good dribbler. But above all that stuff, he's so intelligent and selfless. And at 19 years old, knowing when to pass and knowing when to take another touch and knowing when to shoot is often a very tricky thing. Luca Romero seems to be professional at that already at 19. And that means that he's got like this high footballing IQ that's only going to get better. And technically, he's got it as well, his technique. So I think Luca Romero can go to great lengths. I think out of all the players I have over here, I think Luca Romero's ceiling is the highest for me, in my opinion. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Romero, it's like you can't deny how good he looks, especially like in pre-season and back in Spain. He just hasn't been getting that many opportunities, of obviously, course, because he's playing top flight Serie A football. Yeah. But with the amount of injuries that there have been, I would like to see him get some more playing time. He was thrown on. He was scapegoated at a point because he came on for Pulisic against Napoli, and he gave away the free kick that was scored by Raspadori.
Was it him? Was it Luca Romero who gave away that free kick?
I believe so. God. And he was scapegoated for it.
I don't remember that.
Since I have realized that I made a mistake with this question and I thought was only for Italian players, the next one I'm going to say is Solé.
Okay, yes.
I'm going to replace my Colpani with Solé.
Solé is like a young Berardi type. I believe he scored about 6 goals already this season. He is on loan at Frosinone from Juventus. And he's absolutely thriving.
He's fearless, man. Fearless.
And he's really taken the team on his shoulder. This is what Baldanzi has to do, you know? He has to grab the team and lead the way, you know? And Solé's doing that incredibly, man.
Now I'm just going to say my other one, since that was the replacement of Colpani. Ruggeri. Again, because I thought it was Italian. But no reason why not. He's a powerhouse of a left wing back. His industry is for a young guy. I believe he's 20s, early 20s. For
He is, sir. You could pull up a random celebrity called Ruggiero who's 29. I was going to fucking tell you, he's 29. No. He's 21 years old. Yeah,
he's 21, he's a youngster. At that age, to be filling in such a demanding role, a physically demanding role, which is left wing back or right wing back in an Atalanta team, and to be killing it pretty much.
He's doing really well.
It's a great sign. I think he has a very high ceiling. He'll be a solid left back.
And he's in good hands with Gasperini.
Definitely.
All right, up next I have Valentin Carboni, 18-year-old at Monza on loan from Inter. He's a centre-back, 6'1". I like him. I think he's very solid, and I think he has good potential. And it's surprising when you see he's only 18. When I wrote his name and I looked him up, I thought he was going to be like 20. You know?
Yeah, I thought so as well. I had no idea he was 18. Jesus, that's a good answer.
Up next.
Scalvini. I mean, no diggity, no doubt. 19-year-old Atalanta captain.
His ceiling?
Exuberant.
The best centre-back in Italy in the national team at his time, of his generation, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, he's super.
Like, what? And the thing is, he also carries a brand because he's so good with the ball at his feet. The way he plays, it's so slick and stylish. It's just attractive to watch. You know what I mean? So
he's elegant.
He'll be like, when it comes to generations, there are different generations. There are players that stand out as symbols of that generation. And I think in the future, in the next...
Talking like Bonucci in his generation.
Exactly. Like... So like if you were to think maybe 2016, 2017, Italy, you'd think Chiellini, for example. Yeah. If you think early 2000s, late 90s, you think Maldini.
Yeah.
Now, I'm only mentioning defenders because we're talking about defenders. But I do think Scalvini in the late 20s, early 30s could be... Yeah, he could be the staple and the face of the Italian national team. Yeah. He's that good, man.
He's
that good.
Super, super player. And to be starting consistently for Atalanta, it's not a joke.
Mamma mia. You have one more.
I have two more.
You have two more.
Yes, I know you have one of these guys, so I might skip him. I'm going to say Samuele Vignato. I don't think you have him, do you?
I don't have him. Okay. I think I said all mine, bro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes, I said mine.
Okay. Then I'll say mine. I have two more somehow. I have Samuele Vignato. He's 19 years old, plays with Monza. Very good dribbler. He is actually the brother of Emanuele Vignato. Remember the former Bologna player? He's 23 years old now. He's dipped a bit. He looked quite promising as well, that player, but he's at Pisa at the moment. Samuele, his brother, is only 19. He's playing at Monza. He's playing really well, man. Looks very technically gifted.
Yeah, Vignato's great, man.
Great. And there's also Gaetano Oristagno.
Yeah.
On loan at Cagliari.
We just spoke about him.
21 years old, looking quite bright as well, coming off the bench for Cagliari.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to move on from youngsters.
Yes, sir.
Number 4. Zorig on Instagram says, it was a handball by Milan. Now, guess which team Zorig supports, by the way? Shout out Zorig. No, he's a Fiorentina fan.
Oh, that's Zorig. That's Zorig. Okay. Hey, Zorig.
Spoken voice of the fans.
Yeah.
Yes, hey, Zorig, been a while. I don't think it was a handball, personally, and that's not because I'm a biased Milan fan.
Yeah, of course, this was in the Milan-Fiorentina game, how silly I am.
This was Ruben Loftus-Cheek, right? He had his hands in front of his body and closing inwards, but that's not the thing, because if his arm's still extended, then it should still be... a handball. The problem is the ball hits his torso and then his arm, meaning that it's not a...
So, do you know how no matter how much they adapt and change the handball rule, there's still always a grey area. Always a grey area, man. Before it was like the upper arm, and then it was intentional versus non-intentional, then it has to be extended, and they keep on just looking so deep into it. And now there's this new rule that basically, if it bounces off your body and hits your arm, or if it's in a really short distance and there's nothing you can do about it and it's clearly accidental, then it's not a handball. Last night in the Champions League, it was given. There was a penalty that bounced off a player's body and into his arm. It was the Newcastle PSG game.
The
PSG's last minute
controversially,
controversially, of course. So that's what I'm saying. I can't answer because I have no fucking idea what any refs in the world or any VAR rooms are doing in the world about this handball situation.
Yeah.
To me, it's not a penalty.
It's a tough one. I dislike, to be honest, discussing referee calls. I find it tedious. I don't enjoy it at all. I prefer to discuss the action. I prefer to discuss other things, other aspects of football than refereeing decisions. Apart from the fact when they're like blatantly wrong, you know. But yeah, sometimes they have to be discussed.
Yeah.
Ali Amir on Instagram says, why is no one mentioning Juric's poor form? And why is Torino the least team mentioned in the media like they never existed?
When it comes to no one talking about Torino, it's because people don't talk about boring things. Who talks about boring things? Torino never buy anyone in summer. They've been playing like the same kind of defensive brand of football for ages. Now, sure, there was that season where they significantly improved. There was one season they were battling relegation. And then Juric came in and he shifted things around and they're suddenly where they were before that. But that's the thing. They are your classic 10 to 12th team.
Yeah.
They're nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Nothing more than that. As in, they're also El Grande Torino, great history, this and that. But at the moment, they are a very irrelevant team in that sense.
Yeah. So Juric has plateaued.
Yeah.
And he's aware because he cried after a game and he addressed it. He said, I can't quite get this team to the next level. He took them from a team that was in danger of relegation, as you said, to a mid-table team, but can't quite get it beyond that.
He can't Bologna them.
Yeah. Granted, the investment from the club has improved slightly from Cairo, but it isn't quite enough just yet either.
Zapata,
but they bought a young talent like Ricci,
time.
the development. They have Buongiorno, you know, they're making smart moves. But it's not quite enough yet. And they don't score great goals, so they're not often spoken about in the media. Like I remember last season, there was a stat they had never scored from out of the box. Remember that?
No,
they don't play flashy football, so obviously no one talks about them. They're not like Monza, for example, which play a super attractive brand filled with young, exciting players. They're not like Bologna. And Bologna and Monza, who are similar to their level, in theory, are spoken about much more. They're taking all the headlines, and Fiorentina to a certain extent as well. Granted, they're a step ahead. But yeah, that's why I think it's a shame, because Juric, I believe, is a good coach. I hope he manages to figure things out.
Yeah, same.
Ben asks, are Hellas doomed this year after their lucky escape last year? This is Ben on Twitter, by the way. Are Hellas doomed this year, bro?
Yeah, it's too early to tell. They looked okay, quite good in the opening matches, but I think they've regressed since that. And not only have they regressed, but their spirit is much different to how it was in comparison to a couple of years ago. You look at them a couple of years ago, and they were a team fighting for top 10. They, at a point, I remember that one season where there was Bologna, Torino, Fiorentina, and all of the Sassuolo, and all of these guys fighting who's going to get 8th, and Hellas were one of them. And we had that bet who's going to finish above each other, Sassuolo or Hellas Verona. They're such a good team, man. They lost so many good players, and just the players that are still there since that time, I feel so bad for them.
Yeah,
because they're just watching their surroundings getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I've seen this film before, and I didn't like the ending, bro.
Shout out Taylor Swift.
Shout out Tay-Tay.
I can't believe she made it on our podcast,
she made it, bro.
She's everywhere.
She's the biggest. She's the baddest. They've been regressing. We saw that happen with Genoa, for example, before they got relegated. If it's not this season, it's next, man.
Of course, we're talking about the Hellas Verona, who at one point had Di Marco, Rahmani, Amrabat, Simeone. Fucking hell, I'm missing players. Like, there were so many players over there. So many good ones.
Simeone. You said Simeone.
Yeah. Roasted. But yes, I think the only way they survive is if their defense stays fit, because they are quite a tight unit and can be difficult to penetrate. And if second season Saponara kicks in, dude. Second part of the season Saponara. Because honestly, they need a creative spark. I think Duda is actually being quite good.
Yeah,
He's playing quite well.
He had a couple good games, huh?
Yeah. So I think two creative avenues in Saponara and Duda, and then having Juric or Bonazzoli up front, and Ngonge, of course, in the situation as well, in the equation, in the mix. I think that might just give them just enough to survive. I'm not talking about a great survival. I'm talking about like fourth before the last.
Yeah. Maybe, man. Maybe.
Maybe. We'll see. Alan on Instagram. And our patron, friend, lover. Do you think Lecce should consider to play with two up front? I think Banda's output has been lacking for a while. He could use a break. Piccoli has looked fresh when entering. Unlucky to not have scored more than one. Could it be worth a shot to try Piccoli together with Kristovic? Almqvist/Strefezza more centrally behind them. For me, Banda's game versus Verona was the straw that broke the camel's back. Attacks end when he receives it. Could have received a second yellow. Messed up Piccoli's chance when he was in a clear offside position. Ran less than Juric. Was he playing with a fever? Yeah, we talked about this a little bit in the last episode, in yesterday's episode. I think it's a good idea. I think it's a cool concept. 4-3-1-2. They have good midfielders. Blin, Ramadani, Udan, all those guys, right? I think they can pick three good midfielders. Then you have Piccoli and Kristovic up front, and in that pocket you can pick between Strefezza, Banda, Almqvist. I think it can be a nice exchange, and to be honest, Lecce have also plateaued a little bit. They've lost themselves from the way they started the season. So maybe, yes, a tactical switch-up could catch teams off guard, and having two dangerous weapons in the box could be good.
That's what I was going to say. In fact, like when a team is either lacking quality or not performing up to standard, it's the most important thing is to utilize any players that are showing any form of strong form.
Yeah.
So, in addition to that, it's also very important for teams to have plan Bs. So it's also important for them to try out something new and see how that goes. But I think my former point stands out the most in what I'm saying. When your players aren't playing that well, and you have players that are playing well and you're keeping them on the bench. Hello?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's true Kristovic started the season on great form scoring goals, but you look at Piccoli, he's been more dangerous.
At the moment, he's hot.
Yeah.
What were Lecce doing last year? They were choosing between Cisse and Colombo according to who's in better form.
But yes, Alan, I think you should manage Lecce. I think you'd be a great coach over there. The next question comes from James Pecorella. He said, Salernitana versus Lazio, second yellow card not given to the defender of Salernitana in the first half would have completely changed the outcome of the game. What was the defender trying to prove with his reckless run to the foul? Of course, he's talking about Gyomber over here. It was a clear second yellow card. We discussed this in the episode. We said that probably the referee thought, I've just booked him, I'm not going to send him off, I'm going to let him get away with a warning. That should never be the case. Gyomber, of course, is 31 years old. He spent 3 years at Roma between 2015 and 2018, where he played 6 games. And after that, he dipped, and he hasn't quite got a foothold or returned to that level again. And I believe there's a reason for that. He's a Slovakian international from 2014 up until now. He's featured 32 times. He's played for Bari, Perugia, Catania, and now he's played 85 games at Salernitana.
Yeah.
Look, I think he's not a terrible defender, but I think this is his level. And these lapses in concentration and rush of blood to the head will keep him at this level, to be honest, because he does have games where he's super solid. I don't want to be too harsh on him, but yeah, he was lucky over here, and he could have totally lost Salernitana the game.
Yeah, I honestly, I mirror his question. I have no idea what the fuck he'd be doing in that in that scenario. Like,
who knows?
Like what, man? Like he had the opportunity to go for the ball over there, or at least shield, body, something. But the way that he went in for that is amateur at best, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect to see that in Serie A. But like you're saying, it was one bad thing that Gyomber did. Obviously, he hasn't had the most stellar career in the world, but he He's in Serie A. He's had a couple of good games, but like you said, this is his level. He won't get any higher than Salernitana in Serie A.
Yeah, I think the natural next step for him in his career is Sassuolo. So he can make a few mistakes over there as well.
Get away with it because Berardi will score a hat-trick.
Bring back Vladimir Kirikes, pop him at the back with him. I think that's the way to go.
Please, no, man.
We also missed a question from Dennis, bro. When we had episode 100, he sent this question in while we were actually recording, so we didn't see it. He said, did you guys ever imagine reaching 100 episodes, and what impact did the pod have on your lives?
Ooh, good question.
Personally, I did think we were going to reach 100 episodes when we started, because we were so into it, and at no point throughout these 100 episodes have we ever said, let's stop.
Yeah.
Or even hinted it, or we've said we don't feel like recording today. We've had situations where getting ready to record, we start fucking arguing and shouting at each other and have to calm down and make friends to record. That happened once in particular. I don't know.
Let's breathe, bro. Let's breathe.
Let's breathe, man. All right. Fucking can't stand you. Hello and welcome.
I remember I told you, just like, give me 5 minutes, don't talk to me, and because we were arguing over something, it was like a debate. There was that time. There was another time where we couldn't decide. We're doing a special episode, and we're preparing it in very different ways. We were talking about like an introductory episode for people just getting into Serie A, and I was saying we make it more historical about teams. Like if we're talking about Napoli, let's mention their history, let's mention the city, let's mention Maradona. And you're more, bro, it's about this season, let's talk about how they play a 4-3-3 formation, let's talk about how they're offensive.
Meet the teams of this season. That's what I had in mind. And you were like, meet the teams, like this is a history lecture, which would also be very good content.
They're both good, but I remember, and this wasn't us arguing over the concept, but we had already deeply prepped for it, both of us. We had done
so
work.
None of us want to conceal.
Exactly.
But we should do mine, because it's the whole lot of that.
I remember I told you, bro, give me 10 minutes, don't talk to me, I'm gonna think and I'll get back to you. And you were like, you're just gonna sit in silence and think. I'm trying not to be angry with you right now. Just give me 10 minutes of silence and I'll think.
The other one was funny, of Roma. I think it was either...
It was an action-packed game. I don't know what... Because I had watched the game, bro. We had watched the game together. Yeah. But for some reason, my argument, probably because sometimes when you're in the moment, you kind of let flow overtake or passion overtake knowledge. Yeah. And I remember saying Roma's main problem is that they're not creative and that they can't create chances.
And I was like, well, actually...
and they had missed like 19 chances. It was a game against Atalanta like 2 seasons ago or last season. But I remember, I was like, well, why don't you just pause and tell me that I'm fucking everything up instead of you keep calling me out?
Because it's meant to be authentic.
But those were the 2 occasions.
Yeah, those were the two only ones. I think.
The 2 only ones.
More than that. But twice in 100 episodes isn't bad, which means that within the next 98,
we'll have another 2.
Yeah. Fuck you.
And
what impact did the pod have on your lives? I can no longer meet people during the week because I'm too busy.
that for sure. That for sure. Definitely watching more football, which is good. Definitely watching football a bit differently than I used. Not too differently. I still watch it like I'm a kid, basically, but a bit more analytical, to use that word. Also, like, I don't know, but I work in a company where sometimes they need someone to step in for a podcast or step in front of camera and stuff like that. And it's a company with quite a big following.
Yeah, it's YouPorn.
It's free hour in Malta. So because I picked this up and I became decent at speaking on a microphone or on camera, stuff like that, I have a podcast with them now. It's called Growing Pains. It's doing really well. We speak about young people growing up in Malta, and they also use me for some ads where I speak on camera, explain some shit, some campaigns. So it's also given me like the opportunity and the confidence to do something like that.
Fantastic, bro. How much are we getting paid for that plug, huh?
I mean, it's about time that they plug us.
Exactly,
no?
man. Come on. I mean, you're on the pod. You should just throw it out. Last time on Serie A Spotlight, it reminded me about growing up in Malta.
You listened to episode 1, but I was just calling it the podcast.
I can say the name. I'm like, say the name, bro. Say the name. Like, yeah, all of Malta's youths listening. Say the name, bro. But yeah. That's how it's impacted our lives. And we have many contacts around the world now who just message us whenever something crazy happens in Italian football, and that's so much fun.
This community that we have created would not be a community if we didn't exist. We are essentially gods.
Wow, bro.
There you go.
Yeah, well done.
Alan and Andy wouldn't be dancing. Theo and fucking Matthias wouldn't be talking about the Prem, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, Matthias doesn't really talk about the Prem, though.
No, but they've referenced, even Santi and Matthias reference the Prem every now and then.
Santi and, I would say the premist, to use it as a superlative, are Theo, Mint, Santi.
But those are the ones that support English teams, obviously.
Yes,
but
yes. And Andy, of course, they're the premise.
But like, I would say most of the chat has good knowledge about Premier League.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it is a very popular league. Not our favorite.
As the second best league in the world.
Not our cup of espresso.
Not our cup of espresso, though.
But anyway, bro, shall we wrap this up?
Let's wrap this up. Don't forget to follow us, rate us, love us, message us, kiss us.
Matthew would want worship us, apparently.
Worship us as we are your gods. But thank you guys. We'll see you next week. Next week, yes, obviously.
Yeah. Or tomorrow.
Tomorrow. No, we'll get one more question. Fucking bro. Come over after work and record. So since Jake's moved out, I've been at his house right after work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and now Thursday.
Yes.
And I have separation anxiety, so I don't think this is going too well.
Yeah, I must say it is a pleasure to have you, bro.
Thank you very much.
I want you to feel as comfortable as you possibly can.
I'm so comfortable, bro.
Yeah.
I'm so comfortable.
That's
great. I shat for the first time in your bathroom today.
And I have no doors. I only have curtains, guys.
Yeah. So that's how comfortable I am. That was good, man. It was good.
It's a nice bathroom.
It is a very nice bathroom. There's a chair in it for some reason. It's like you're a 4-star boutique hotel.
It's because we don't have a bath. We like to put the laptop on the chair so we can watch something while we bath.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I need a bath tray.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow us, rate us, message us, love us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
This is Serie A Spotlight.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.